Hey everybody, Hunter Otis here. Welcome to the Porn-Free Revolution, where we help men quit porn and never fear those urges again. Today, I'm really actually excited. We have Matt and Joanna Raabsmith with us today. Super stoked to talk to you guys. We have a lot in common, very similar missions in what we're doing in life. We even have families at similar stages. Like, there's just a lot of really cool things here. But I'm really excited. We're going to be talking a lot about intimacy, about relationships, about restoring trust after betrayal, like all the good stuff. So many of my guys are just desperate for, how do I navigate through this, right? How, my wife just recently caught me, or I finally just told the truth, or maybe I've given in to temptation again after many years. Like, either way, like, things maybe aren't going so well, and navigating through that relational piece is so hard. Like, it takes some of us professionals, like, it takes a ton of skill, like, right, trying to figure it out with different couples and even with ourselves, right? Like, this is really hard stuff, and why so many people don't do this work is because it's difficult to navigate, especially when you just don't know where to start. So this is a really good one. Key in. Again, super excited for Matt and Joanna to share their expertise with us, but to quick introduce them. So I love that you guys work together as a couple and run your business together. But Joanna, so she's a licensed marriage and family therapist, just like Nicole is as well. Trained in EMDR, specializes in trauma and betrayal trauma, addiction recovery as well. And there's some other things in there too. And then Matt, so he's a professional certified coach, a restoration coach, and a certified partner coach, and more. The list goes on. You guys are very busy, but they have a ton of expertise. So I'm super stoked to pick your guys' brains today, but thanks so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, we're excited to be here. Excited for the conversation.
Looking forward to it.
Why don't you guys jump in actually and just like share a little bit about your story? Like, how did you come into what you're doing? And yeah, like, we'll just jump into there. Just share your story. We'll dive in.
Yeah, we were drug into this work in some ways. Like, come into it sounds a lot more. Yeah, wasn't this big vision? We did want to work with couples. We had a vision to work with couples. We just did not think it was going to be around this topic, and we actually were hoping it wouldn't be at certain points of our journey.
Yeah.
But our own marriage and our kind of own walk really kind of hit this roadblock where I was struggling with a really lifetime, decades long addiction and kind of usage of pornography and problematic sexual behavior. And it really just kind of came to a head in our relationship. Joanna started putting some pieces together and started figuring out something's not right, something's not happening. And kind of in the course of a day, really kind of put it to me, saying, hey, is this what's going on? And that really began our rough and tumble healing journey, both individually. Eventually, as a couple, we wandered for quite a bit. And I think it was that journey, both I think individually and as a couple, that we said, I think there's a better way to do this. I think there are some mistakes that we made and some challenges that we had along the way that we really wanted to help other couples navigate well. And that's really what got us into doing this.
Yeah. And so as we kind of started collaborating with colleagues, Dan Drake, our good friend and colleague, we actually wrote our book with him, Building True Intimacy, right? As we started collaborating, we started realizing like, oh, there is a much clearer path structure to this process. And we could identify both personally, that's the process we went through, and professionally, these are the pieces every couple needs to go through to rebuild after betrayal into really thriving intimacy, right? Because when we were going through our journey, we were going to do all this hard, painful work just to like survive and stay married, right? It was kind of like, no, I better get something really amazing and really special on the other side of that. And so that's what we were fighting for. And so kind of finding that process or those pieces that we could then share with others, right? I think that's where this is really a sense of calling for us. Like Matthew said, this isn't something we like planned to do or really wanted to do, but almost felt like we have to do it, right? Because of the gift we've been given in our own life, in our own relationship. It's something we have to be able to share with others.
So similar for us, by the way, you guys, like that's Nicole put those pieces together, right? Realized something wasn't adding up. I think I let some like partial truths slip out that kind of hinted at that something was going on, and she just figured it out. I mean, super intuitive, Nicole. It's like her superpower, right? But yeah, I mean, that started us on our own rough and tumble journey too, right? Like it's so hard. But I think that that's what makes this so special about the work that all of us do, is because like you guys now have the superpower of empathy because you get it, right? Like you truly understand these people and what they're going through, because we're just like them, right?
Absolutely.
No, it's always interesting whenever we sit with a couple for the very first time. I'm reminded of some of the early conversations. I mean, when we sat down with our counseling team and said, like, "Hey, is there any hope for this?" I mean, that's what we get so often when a couple sits down with us. Is like, what do we talk? It almost feels like a cancer diagnosis, right? They're just like, "Give it to me straight." What are we actually looking at?
Yeah.
And it's difficult because you sometimes have to give them the hard news of like, this is going to take some time, right? This is not an easy fix, right? You're not going to learn one phrase and be beyond this.
Right.
You're going to do some really tough work for a number of years. But the cool part about it is being able to sit with them and say, I guarantee you though, what's on the other side is worth it. Like it is really, truly wonderful. Not perfect, right? But really wonderful, really deeply, abidingly wonderful. If you can continue to stay diligent in the work, you're gonna be thankful you did.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'd say the same thing. It's like, holy cow, nobody wants to go through this. Nobody in their right mind wants to go through this. And although I can say like I'm grateful for everything we've been through at this point, I still would not want to go through it again, right? Like no one wants to go through the difficulties like this, but something so much better is absolutely waiting on the other side if you're willing to get in the ring and get help and do the work, right? And surrender into the difficulty and the pain and the work required to navigate through it. The beauty is, like, I think I saw this on your guys' website, like back when you were going through it, back when we were going through it, there wasn't a lot of resources, right?
Absolutely.
You couldn't go on YouTube and find stuff. It was like the one or two groups that existed out there that were really not that great either, right?
Yeah.
People just doing their best at the time.
Word of mouth at best.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of stumbling around in the dark for us, and some good things we found. I mean, I think we were really lucky that we found what we did, and it was some of those resources that were so key for us. Mm-hmm. But it was a lot of putting pieces together. Oh, yeah. About like, okay, you could kind of go over here for this thing, and you go there, and none of it ever felt connected. Like I would be in a meeting with guys that, like, I mean, we're close. I would feel closer to than people I'd spent my whole life around, because we were being honest about real things. We were struggling together. We all wanted the same things, but Joanna would have no idea who those people were, right? We didn't usually share names, right? These were the idea of, anonymity. And so it was weird because even though we were having these really profound experiences, they were so disconnected from each other, right? And really didn't speak to that. There was
there's nothing about the couple's journey. And while he was able to find some resources for his journey for kind of good sobriety recovery, there was absolutely nothing from that time pretty much for me. And kind of the understanding of betrayal trauma was just beginning. I remember going to a few groups that were very like COSA, codependent, addict oriented, and just like not feeling like it fit at all. Right? Just going like, this is not my experience. I don't understand what they're talking about. And so I would kind of go to the next group. And it really was a struggle for me to find any good resources. I finally stumbled upon this betrayal trauma model. And I was like, there it is. Yes. That's what's happening to me. And it was like so life-changing and so freeing. But there weren't betrayal trauma therapists like surrounding me. There weren't betrayal trauma groups I could go to. There weren't online groups at all at the time. And I was in LA at the time, right? So like if there's anywhere there should have been resources, like there should have been a lot. And so I remember early on in recovery, I started my own betrayal trauma group because I needed one that badly. So I'm like leading my own group, right? And so it was definitely kind of leading the blind a little bit at that time. And then there was absolutely nothing for the couple journey. The closest we found was kind of traditional infidelity healing, which is a little bit different, a little bit nuanced compared to healing from sexual addiction betrayal. And so that was probably the hardest piece of our journey, was the relational side in figuring out what are all the pieces that have to happen relationally to really heal and move on.
Right. Absolutely. And I'd like to prove you guys' point. Like, there has been 12-step for a long time and things like that. And so we can get together. I mean, I remember going to meetings and having very similar experience, Matt, and like all of a sudden it's like, oh man, I finally, like, the truth is out. I have men, like, I feel so much better. I'm feeling so much better about myself. And my wife is kind of like, well, what the heck about me? Right. Well, what do I do? And so many women are just kind of like left in the dust, like trying to just hold it together and be the mom and try to function with this grief and pain. And then, how do we reintegrate? How do we come back together? So even if we are able to successfully heal as the man in recovery and then the woman from betrayal, how do we reintegrate? Like, what is intimacy? What is connection? How do we talk? What do we talk about? What should we talk about? And like, how do we heal? How do we heal together? So like, maybe we go there because you guys just happen to have like a whole book and stuff about this. No big deal. But also, Dan Drake, who they partnered with to create the Intimacy Pyramid, he was one of our supervisors back in the day as well, and was a huge help for us. One, as we were learning, because we were going through it. Right. So it was like trying to heal while also, hey, we have a private practice and we have people dealing with this as well while we're going through it. So we might as well get professional help, figure out what we're doing to help these people we're seeing and help ourselves. Right. Yes. And Dan was such a tremendous help and support, helped me really build my self-worth and like feel so much better about myself. Through the process. So we absolutely love Dan Drake. He's brilliant and he's a great man. But tell us about the book. How did you connect actually with Dan?
So I actually, when we lived in LA, I worked for him for a brief period of time.
Oh, no way.
I was giving my hours to get my licensure. And so that was our first connection. And then we ended up kind of moving down to San Diego, finished up the hours, started a private practice. But while I was there with him, this is kind of a fun story. We were giving a talk at a church on intimacy. And we had no idea what we were going to talk about. And it was like Thursday.
I don't know how
we were talking on Sunday.
We're like, sure.
All these couples there to hear us talk. I'm like, we got to come up with something. And in supervision that day, Dan was like, I've been thinking about this thing. I'm calling it the Intimacy Pyramid. He kind of like on the whiteboard scribbled something up, right? And I was like, that's it. That's the thing. I was like, can we present on that this Sunday? He's like, absolutely. We talked about the Intimacy Pyramid and the couples loved it. Every single one was just like, this is amazing. Like, this is what, and these weren't betrayal couples, right? We were like, oh, this is for everyone who wants to build healthy, thriving intimacy. And it's especially important for betrayal couples, though, who want to rebuild in the right way. And so kind of very shortly after that, we kind of knew, okay, we're going to probably need to develop this, write a book about it. And so we started working with Dan kind of at that point to flesh out the model and then write the book so everyone can kind of access it.
Wow, that's so cool. It's so interesting. So we get pushed out of our comfort zone and stuff happens, right?
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think we wrote it in like 2 days, just like we were it was one of those, we weren't sleeping. It was just like, go. And like, but it was all kind of coming out. And
it And we realized like this connects with the work we're doing with couples. It connects with our story. Like we see our own story in each of those steps. Like it was right. It just like immediately we knew, oh, this is that journey we've been on, but in picture form and very easy to understand and less messy and confusing.
I'll actually share a picture of the intimacy pyramid here so that you guys listening can see it. But could you guys just give us a quick overview of it, and then we'll kind of hit each one today.
Yeah, the best way I think to understand it is think a little bit like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? That everything builds off the base, and as you get strong on the base, that's what lets you kind of move up to the next level. And there's 5 levels, starting with honesty. Obviously, for betrayal couples, they get this, that because of the dishonesty, because of the lies and the hiding, everything is ruptured, everything is cracked, right? And the foundation is kind of fallen in on itself.
Right.
So everything starts with just the simplicity of becoming an honest person and creating an honest, kind of transparent relationship.
And then once we have that authenticity, that honesty, that transparency, we can then begin to build, we call it safety, that level of emotional safety in the relationship, being able to trust kind of that I, myself, right, that I can consistently come into the relationship in healthy, constructive ways, even when it's hard, right? Like, especially when it's hard, especially when I'm emotionally dysregulated or we're seeing something very differently, right? Being able to still show up in healthy, safe ways in those moments.
Right.
Honesty, safety is what gives way to the ability to build trust. This is what we think of like as partnership. It's where, okay, no, I know who I'm dealing with and I know that they're going to show up. Now I can be a partner. We can practice like more cooperation, more collaborative kind of work together. This is where it really starts to feel like a relationship and kind of like an us.
Yeah.
And it's as we lean into that we get into the tricky work, right, of higher level relationships, but what's so important.
Yeah. And so kind of thinking about couples who are healing from betrayal, trust is when you really start leaning into that relational healing work. It's less that individual work that's already been done in honesty and safety. Now we're ready to take on that relational piece. And as that trust is formed through that process, we then get to be more vulnerable, more open with each other. And this is right. This is what a lot of people want in a relationship, but they died there first without building those foundations of honesty, safety, and trust. And that behavior can be really risky and very dangerous to do without those foundational pieces. And so making sure those are in place before we take that vulnerable step.
And when couples are able to do that, when they're able to lean into that vulnerability successfully, right, based on that strong foundation, it's amazing the healing work it does for both of them. It really brings out the best in each of who they are, which is really what allows for that final piece, which is that intimacy. And what we see when couples make it that far, they're excited about their relationship in their life, right? They have a passion to who they are. They also have a sense of purpose. They have a sense of like, there's a reason we exist, even as a couple, right? There's a reason that our marriage, our relationship is here. But what's really cool is they're also really playful. They're uninhibited. It's like they really started to get comfortable again in their own skin. And it's that which gives kind of life upon life. What we see with intimate couples is they're not just enjoying a great relationship and kind of off to themselves. They're enjoying a great relationship, but they're benefiting other people, children, friends, family members, right? You'll hear people talk about like, I love being around that couple, right? I feel so good when I'm with them. And that's what intimacy is about. It's ultimately that it's life-giving, right? That it generates life. And that's why we love it, right? We love it because we're like, oh, I feel more alive when I'm in this space, right? And so couples who are working on all of these levels, and you know, the either good or bad news, the way you look at it is you're going to be working on these levels the rest of your life, right? You'll just start to see the kind of fruits build, but it's really about doing it in the right order. Like I said, so many couples, they're like, okay, let's go be passionate again. And you're like, well, I love
hold the phone.
You know, before we jump there, right, let's start with kind of using our words.
Yeah.
Let's start to be real with each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, you've seen it, I'm sure, where, you know, a lot of people that have done the betraying are like, well, I've told the truth. Like, why can't you just get over it and move on? It's like, well, hold on. Yeah. I mean, and this is a great explanation as to why. I have it up on my screen. I'll share it for people, like a link below to the book and to their website where they have this on there. But yeah, like, yeah, what you just got punched in the nose, right? Are you gonna let somebody stand close to you if they just punched you? Like, no, it's not safe. Like, your radar's going off. You're saying, stay back. And this is what our partner is going through. So yeah, you told the truth, and props to you. Like, that takes a ton of courage. But if we want to get to intimacy again and vulnerability again, safety and trust can't be skipped, or it can cause more harm than good. So if your partner is unsure if you're going to act out again or if you're going to lie again, and then they're going to be sexually intimate with you, and then a few days later, bam, they get punched in the nose again, so to speak. Like, that's really, really hard. So just being able to get into that place of empathy and understanding where your partner is at, like, and really owning each one of these levels as they're talking about them, like, this is going to give you the highest chance of success or get to where you want to go, which is intimacy. It makes sense you want it, but we can't skip the steps.
We can't. And it's really important. One of the things I think, especially for betrayers out there, what we have found, the couples that do best, betrayers are leading the way, right? And so I am recognizing what it looks like to be an honest and transparent person, and I'm really stepping into that space. And there's some vulnerability in that, like you said. There's some courage in doing that for the first time, and so I'm doing that work. And then I'm kind of always moving a little ahead of my partner, right? So I'm thinking about how I show up constructively in the relationship before we've really rebuilt that partnership. And so I'm thinking about, hey, what are the things that I do around my emotions? How do I show up consistently? How can I be responsible for the impact of my actions? And when betrayers lead the way, they kind of create a space for partners then to kind of bring their healing work into the relational space. And so I learned to be honest and safe, right? Joanna recognized, now I have a place to be more honest about what this has meant to me, right? What my fears are about going forward, right? Which was hard for me to hear. I mean, it took me years, honestly, in our wandering, because I didn't know what we were doing. I didn't know what I was, right, kind of what was holding me back. But Joanna, as I got sober, Joanna got clear. She was like, this hurt, right? This shifted me. This changed things for me. And at first, I wasn't safe enough to hear that, right? I'd get defensive. I'd want to justify. I'd want to say, hey, I'm not that way anymore. And I didn't recognize that, oh, no, I've got to create a safe environment for her, right? I've got to be trustworthy before she trusts me. I think what I was wanting was, okay, if you can trust me, I think we can get back to who we were, not recognizing, no, I'm going to go be trustworthy. Knowing that she's going to be healing, right, at a different space and pace than I'm going to be.
So I love that you just brought that up, because that's like the exact thought that was in my mind, because it's so many guys are like, how do I get my wife to trust me again? Well, that's not the goal. It's not the goal. It's to become trustworthy, and it will fall into place, right? So it's really about who you are, identity, like, and your standards for yourself and the way that you live your life. I love that so much. Like, let's talk actually about honesty first. So, like, let's dig into that just for a second. So many guys are afraid to tell the truth because they feel like the outcome's going to be, it's not worth it. Right? What do you guys have to say about that?
I usually just tell them the outcomes in lying are all bad, right? I don't know any good outcomes with lying, because what you get when you lie is you get a guarantee that you'll never feel chosen. You'll never feel accepted. The whole time that I was lying to Joanna, I was reinforcing the reality that she couldn't actually choose me, right? My greatest fear was that if Joanna found out about my past and our present, that she would not choose me, right? That was my fear. That was the whole reason that I was hiding. It was like, if you know, you won't choose this. But the hard part was I was guaranteeing that reality because she couldn't choose it, right? She was choosing a version of me that wasn't real. It wasn't whole, right? There was some realness to it, but it wasn't the real thing. So I just tell people, like, the alternative, there is no good in it.
Yeah.
Even if you can trick someone into a relationship with you, right? Even if I can fool you into going, hey, I'm choosable, I'll know in my heart that I'm not, right?
Yes.
And that wall will build up between us, right? And so I'll know that, and that will really rob me of what I deserve, and it'll rob us of what we deserve, right? Because when you start taking choices away from someone in a relationship, that's abuse, right? When someone doesn't have the power to choose, right? And so that's what I was doing. I was creating this kind of informational abuse where Joanna didn't have the ability to choose, which meant she couldn't choose the relationship. She couldn't choose me.
Yeah. And ultimately it hinders and it causes disease in the relationship. The other person experiences those effects, whether or not you want to admit it's happening, right? So many of the couples we work with, right, they could tell years, sometimes decades before the addiction or the betrayal came to light, that something was off, something was wrong, something was keeping them apart. And so kind of realizing like, yeah, there is no real intimacy if there's deception, lies, and hiding.
Yeah. We talk about intimacy and saying it's like, it's knowing and being known by another person, right? And so I love, Matt, what you said too about, we're withholding the truth because we're afraid of maybe this person's reaction. We think it's not going to be worth it. Or to go a step further, we can't handle the emotions. Like we actually can't handle the reaction. It's not about them at all. We're pseudo protection, right, of your partner. But really what at the core of it, by choosing the dishonesty, what you're saying to yourself is, I'm not worthy of this person's love. And well, what we believe dictates our behaviors, and it keeps us stuck in that loop of acting out to try to then deal with that pain of feeling alone and unseen and unheard. So honesty, obviously, it's necessary for your partner to rebuild trust because you're becoming trustworthy, but it's going to completely transform you as an individual. Yeah.
And all of the work we do in our relationship should benefit me, right? Relationships shouldn't be seen as a competitor to kind of individual thriving. I think people have that idea, it's this myth that I'm constantly choosing between myself or the relationship when it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
Being honest in the relationship is what brings me more alive, right? And that's what I realized. Once I started getting honest, I started being real about my life and my story. I was like, oh, I actually feel better. Like I live this life better, and it happened relationally for me, right? It was really in relationships that I learned to be honest, but it was that individual release and healing that was so good. And that's the idea, right? What we do in the relationship should benefit us, which is what causes us to want to pour more into the relationship, right? Mm-hmm. It's just like, oh, okay, now that this is working, what else can I do?
Yeah. Yeah. So then this leads into safety, right? Because not only is honesty going to purge you of shame, help you feel better, help you be your own actual authentic self instead of hiding, it's going to also lead into creating safety for your partner. So go ahead and talk about safety.
And that safety, again, is so important both for the individual as they're healing and learning to show up as a safe place, mm-hmm. right? As well as that partner who's going, I can't stay in this relationship if it's not safe. So I need to see some evidence that this will be different, right? So really looking for the evidence that cycle, whether it's a shame or that broken identity that makes you shut down and hide, right? To see that you're dealing with that and you're showing up in a new way, a brand new way in the relationship. And so what that does is it kind of creates a cycle in the other direction, even for that person who's healing from the shame or healing from the pain and the hiding. As they show up in that new healthy way, they're building, sometimes they'll even say like self-trust. I'm showing myself that I can live in a way that's in line with my values, that I can show up consistently in that healthy, authentic self that I want to be. And the more consistently I show up that way, the more I trust myself, my own sobriety, that my recovery is effective, it's going to work, it's going to help me stay on this new path long term. And as that, almost that self-trust, that self-confidence grows in that person, that's what almost builds more safety in the relationship than the specifics of what they're doing, right? So it's that sense that they are this new person that can consistently show up in a healthy way that feels safe.
I love that you're saying consistently, because like I have guys that like, well, I told the truth, so she should, like, it's safe now. Right?
Yeah.
So it takes time. It takes time, like consistently showing up in honesty and holding space for your partner's emotions. It takes a while, and then she's going to test the waters, say maybe it's a little safer, and it's going to take a little leap of courage to test the waters there, and then it goes well, and then it's just going to continue to go. So patience with your partner.
It takes time. We're talking years
yes.
for most couples,
yes.
right? And so putting it in perspective, I think, is so important.
Yeah. Then trust. So over time, right, years, as you continue on this path, like it's not that it's going to be all bad for years and then magically all of a sudden you turn a corner and it's magically better and we'll arrive at this destination. Like there will be beautiful, wonderful, amazing times throughout this process, you guys. Like, so just remember that it's worth getting started now because it's not. So with that, trust is going to continue to develop in different areas and grow over here, and then it's going to grow over here, and then you're going to find out this thing, and you're going to keep growing together. But talk to us about trust and, your view on it.
Yeah, this is, like I said, where the couple work begins a lot of places now. And the couple work at this point is still restoration. It's about, can I be the partner that I committed to be at the start of our relationship, but because of the things that I brought in, right, kind of prevented me, disqualified me from showing up as? Can I be that partner consistently as we work together? Because it's one thing to work on your own, right? I remember as a kid, like I love solo projects, but right, whenever they're like, we're going to do a group project, you're just kind of work with other people, and they're going to have opinions and ideas, right? And I see this with the guys I work with, right? They're good until they're like, yeah, my wife wants to redesign our garage, right? And I can't handle it. And I'm like, yeah, right. It's the ability to work together, right? In parenting, finances, right? How we spend work-life balance. It's those conversations that are actually the restorative process, because it's how I show up in those spaces as that kind of person in the relationship. Like Joanna was saying, it's going to dictate how well we work together, how much our partnership is rebuilt, because that's really one of the key things that's lost. Joanna lost a partner. She thought she had somebody, right, kind of, going to be her ride or die. And it was like, no, I'm not. I'm only going to be here when it's easy. I mean, that's what my betrayal taught her. I had to show her, right, something different.
Absolutely. And that's really when the couple also gets to step more into that restoration work, recovery work, right? They get to talk together about like what was lost in our relationship because of this betrayal, because of what you chose to bring in. And what does it look like to heal and repair that as a couple, right? And have those conversations. Hold and grieve those losses, right? Begin to envision that there could be a new us moving forward.
Yes. The grief, right? It's like being willing. This part of like leading, I mean, vulnerability is the next one. This requires a lot of vulnerability throughout the whole thing, ladies and gentlemen, surprise. But being able to hold each other while you deeply grieve the loss and the pain and what you thought was once was, and realizing it was different. I see, like, when I have guys, a lot of the men that I work with, when they can finally like surrender to allowing themselves to deeply feel that grief, it's like everything starts to shift.
Yes, absolutely. For them and for the relationship.
Yes.
Right? So oftentimes early on in the process, the partner, the betrayed spouse may share what we call kind of an impact letter or a loss letter, right? That shares some of those pains. And it's an opportunity for the betraying spouse to show up in that safety, right? Being able to stay regulated, hold the pain, validate, maybe even show up with empathy, right?
Yep.
But it's still this is my experience, this is your experience, and we're about as far away as we could get.
Yes.
Right? And so it's not a very connecting experience oftentimes, even as it can be healing and restorative. And so when we talk about kind of in this vulnerability space, after we've done a lot of the work as a couple, we built the safety, built the trust. Now we're stepping into this pain together. So this is the key difference, where we're both experiencing and grieving the same loss. And this is a completely different experience, because as a couple, it's extremely connecting and extremely intimate. I hear partners say, finally, I'm not alone.
Yes.
It's the first time they feel like, I have that partner back. I'm not alone anymore.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. I mean, it is that grief when you can do that together. It's like you're both accepting where you're at right now. It's like that past is able to be processed, and it's like, all right, this is marking a point where now we're both moving forward together. Like we're at the same point here. Now we're united.
Yes.
Yeah. And part of grief is recognizing this is part of our story.
Yeah.
For a long part of our journey, I didn't want this to be a part of the story. I felt like this could be an asterisk that would just like, if people ask about that small period of time and we really trusted them, we might give them a little bit of background, right? And so, but I think I thought that was what was going to be freedom, right? When this stopped being a part of our story. And what was interesting is that when I accepted it and grieved it, right? I grieved that this is part of our story. That's actually when we found more freedom. It was actually when I found what I was looking for.
Yep.
Not that it was gone. It actually was more present, right? We talk about it more than we ever have. And it's in that, right, that there's this freedom. And I think that it's scary, because for me, the idea was, oh, wait, that I'm stuck in this one role. I'm the betrayer. I'm the bad guy, right? That's going to be our story forever. And it was interesting that as I accepted my past, all of a sudden my present changed. I wasn't just that person anymore, right? I was so much more, and still am.
And not because I'm running away from that person, right?
Yes.
Because I've actually embraced that person and embraced our story and been able to find that freedom in that way. It's a little scary for couples, I think, when we tell them, oh, no, real healing and freedom means you're not scared to talk about your story.
Yeah.
They're like,
what? Hold on.
Right.
You can go on a podcast.
Yeah.
You can do it, not us.
Yeah, that there's something about that, though, that authenticity of like really being who you are. And that's one of the greatest blessings that I've definitely received doing this work is I go to church. What do I talk about? Like, it's normal for me to just talk to a stranger on the street about how I was addicted to porn. And they're like, whoa, hold on. But that's part of why we called it the porn-free revolution, because my feeling with it is these are the conversations that we need to be having more, that men and women alike desperately need, like, to feel not alone, because they're all feeling so trapped and ashamed of, man, if the rest of the world knew the truth about us, holy cow, the judgment and whatever. But most people are struggling. Most relationships are struggling with this type of stuff. So it's just pretty wild to see that. But yeah, if we can create more safety inside our relationships and in community to be able to be real, holy cow. I mean, that's leading to intimacy, right? It's not just in our coupleship, but with everyone. So maybe for the sake of time, like maybe hit vulnerability and intimacy. And obviously we can't cover everything. So if you want to know more, you just got to get their book. But maybe hit those real quick.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about vulnerability, right? It's that grieving. What's interesting is vulnerability is also joy. It's when people start to reclaim joy, especially for a betrayed partner. They'll talk a lot about how scary it is to like have joy again. But it is in the recognition of like, we're not where we started. A lot of vulnerability, the joy comes in going, look at how far we've come. Look at the work we've done, the hours we've put in, the tears, right? And it's amazing because it's almost like couples just kind of naturally shift into intimacy, right? As they become more and more vulnerable and more comfortable, they really become themselves, right? And that's what I talk a lot about was when I was in my addiction, I was as far, my actions and my values could not be further apart.
Yeah.
Healing for me has always felt like those two things were together. And when we're intimate, that's what it feels like. It feels like who we are supposed to be and who we're living as is just in complete alignment. And then we get to enjoy the fruits of that, right? It's really intimacy is where we go, wow, this is the good life. How do I keep cultivating it? And what we find is couples who achieve it go, I'm ready for more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
How can we be more honest? How can we be more safe? How can we trust each other better? And so that's what's been really cool is the couples that we've been able to walk through with this, they'll come to us and say like, what else? What's next? Right? Yeah. What can I do more to get to where I really want to be?
Yeah. Yeah. Joanna, anything you wanted to?
Yeah, I think it's just like, and it's worth it, right? Yeah. Like sometimes when you're in those lower levels of the pyramid, it is hard. It is a lot of work. You're working through a lot of pain. You're doing a lot of things that just take a lot of effort. Yes. And it's easy to wonder, like, okay, is this all going to be worth it in the end? And so when you get towards those upper levels of the pyramid, and I love how like, gradually it happens, all right. It's very sneaky. Like when you're down at the bottom, you're very intentionally working sometimes on steps and structures, right? Right. But couples I'm working with who are more in vulnerability, intimacy, right? It's kind of like they wake up one day and they're like, oh my goodness, we did it. We didn't realize, but like, as we look at the last 6 months, like everything is like night and day different. If we look at our relationship a year ago, we never would have dreamed we could be at the place we are right now.
Yes.
Right? How life-giving it is personally, relationally, and to those around us, right? That's what we talk about in intimacy. When we're there, it's giving life to everywhere, right? And so just knowing, especially if you're early on in the journey, that it is worth it to put in the work and together.
The days are going to be long, and those individual moments of extreme honesty and vulnerability are terrifying. It's hard, like, you know, the anticipation of coming forward and the roller coaster of all of that. It's hard, but to your point, like being able to look back in the rearview mirror as you keep getting in the ring and stick with it, like incrementally, it gets better. And like I have just a really fast story. Actually a gal that I knew reached out and said, I know my husband is struggling with pornography, but he won't talk to me about anything. But can I send him your phone number? Like, I bet he won't call you. You know, he called me immediately. One was terrified because he was like, well, she actually obviously knows something, because they literally didn't talk about anything at all. But he was desperate for help, just so isolated, so alone. Right. And for the first couple months, he still wouldn't tell her anything about what was going on. It was like, I cannot tell her, I will not tell her, whatever. But guys, it's the beauty of when you start going in and you really start being honest with yourself and start grieving these things and facing these things, and you get the right support, then all of a sudden out of the blue, he just went and told her everything. And then they started couples work together, and then they did this together, and then they did this together. And then she's messaging me saying, like, him starting with you has completely changed everything. And it's because, you know, obviously we gave him support, but he kept getting in the ring and doing that work and confronting that fear, and was able to overcome that, be intimate and vulnerable with himself, and was able to do that with her. And everything that he was desperately wanting was on the other side of that. And so all of this that we're talking about, and thank you so much again for your time and being able to go through these things. Obviously, we barely scratched the surface, right? But my hope is that anyone listening to this, that this can give you hope, that there is a path forward. You don't have to wade through chaos and uncertainty like what all of us had to go through, right? There are paths forward, and you can do it. Like, we're no better than you in any way. And with the right support, you can heal. Thank you so much. I guess, again, for the sake of time, because you guys got to run off to probably another appointment here. Where can people find you if they want to check out working with you? What kind of real quick, what services do you offer, and how might they be able to work with you?
Yeah, we specialize in the kind of relational restoration side. And so if you're wanting some guidance in that, we always have people to reach out to us. We're really easy to find, rabsmithteam.com. We're the only Raabsmiths in the whole wide world, so that's a pretty easy one to find. And something that we love to do is we love to create resources, because that's what we were chewing up when we were going through this, was resources and ways to guide. And so we've created this kind of daily conversation check-in for couples, because that's one of the first things couples ask us is, what are we supposed to do? How do we talk about this? And so we created a guide for couples to begin this conversation early in recovery, and to really use throughout.
Building that honesty layer, right? But this is a check-in that we still use in our own relationship today. Yeah. And so wherever you're at in the journey, really, it can be useful.
So they can go to raabsmithteam.com/free, get that resource, really start using it right away, but also connect with them.
Yeah. Love it. Guys, if you're watching this and they really resonate with you, reach out. And just work with someone that can guide you down the path. Also, if you'd like to work with me or my wife, just go to pornfree.com. I'll put a link below. You can schedule a call. I do free consultations. You can reach out. But we're all in this together. I think I don't know if the number is exact, but it's like some 90% of men are using porn on a monthly basis. Doesn't mean it's all problematic, like they're addicted, but that's a lot of men. You're like the least alone population on the planet right now. Okay. And so we need as many professionals as can help as possible, but just know you're not alone, and it's okay to get help, and you're going to feel so much better when you can be yourself and be open. It'll feel like such a relief and for your partner as well. So thank you guys. Man, this has been a pleasure. Like, really, it's really refreshing talking to you both. I really appreciate you.
So good being here. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, we'll talk soon. See ya.